What's going on YouTube? It's your boy RonnyPugs back again with another Spider-Man PS4 DLC video. And now that each chapter in the City That Never Sleeps DLC has released, I can finally share my rankings of the 10 DLC suits from my least favorite to favorite. And originally I wasn't going to include that one suit since it wasn't included within the City That Never Sleeps DLC pack. It was included within an update. However, it is technically DLC, so it will be on the list in this video. There's not necessarily any suits that I hate that were included within this pack. However, I do feel there are some designs that could have been done better, along with certain suits that I think took spots away from better ones that weren't included in the DLC. So with that, let's get straight into my list of my personal rankings of the 10 DLC suits included in Spider-Man PS4 from my least favorite to favorite. I hope you guys enjoy. Starting the list off at number 10 in my least favorite of the Spider-Man PS4 DLC costumes, this spot sadly goes to the Cyborg Spider-Man suit just based off the fact that this suit could have been done a lot better. And when I first saw the lineup for Silver Lining, I was extremely disappointed to see a reskinned damaged classic suit as paid content, opposed to some of the fan favorite suits we were hoping for. I honestly feel like the Cyborg Spider-Man could have been done a lot better if we saw a new classic suit template as the base, as well as including the newer version of the Cyborg suit instead of what was given. So with that, my least favorite of the City That Never Sleeps DLC costumes is the Cyborg Spider-Man, just off the fact that we paid for a reskin of an already useless suit in the game, and we could have had this in the base game to begin with. Number 9 goes to the only Insomniac original design of the DLC, which is the Resilient suit, and while I don't hate this design, it's just one of those throwaway costumes I don't use as much throughout the game. This design is alright, but it ultimately reminds me of an Insomniac version of the Flipside suit, which is one of my least favorite Spider-Man costumes, so naturally I'm not going to be interested in something that reminds me of something I don't like. However, this design is better than Flipside. I'm a fan of this costume's color scheme and the silver webbing, but it doesn't really feel like Spider-Man to me, which is why I'm ranking it at number 9 and because this suit gets little to no use from me. Moving on from one armored costume, we move into what I like to call the Raimi armor with the Aaron Eichmann Spider-Man suit at number 8. I wasn't really asking for this in-game, especially for the last announced DLC, but despite that, I do enjoy using this costume during free roam. I like the color scheme, spider logos, and the overall Raimi vibe I get from this suit. But again, it's just another armored suit that's like the one we've already had in-game. I also don't like how bulky the armor is at some parts, especially around the foot area, and I feel like getting more use of this costume may increase the suit's ranking, but for now, the Aaron Eichmann Spider Armor takes the number 8 spot. Coming in at number 7 is one of the 2 animated costumes of the DLC, as well as our thumbnail suit, which is Spider-Clan. While I'm not a big fan of this design, I ranked it above the previously mentioned costumes because of the effort that was put into the design, specifically looking at the character model and the cell shading of the suit. What this suit has that the Cyborg doesn't is effort put into it. While the Cyborg is a reskin, this is a brand new character model with a different art style from the rest of the game, which is why I ranked it at number 7 in this video. But like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Spider-Man himself. It's just not my type of character or costume that I'm interested in. However, it deserves to be ranked at least 7th in my eyes because of the amount of effort that was put into it. Moving on to number 6, we have Spider UK, and in my opinion, this is one of the most underrated suits in the game. Now I'm in the minority, but I was hoping we'd see this in game. It's another interpretation of the classic suit that's different enough from the original, and we've also never seen this in a Spider-Man game before, and once again, coming at the Cyborg suit, this isn't just a reskin of Insomniac's classic suit. If you notice, the blue is a different shade from Insomniac's classic, which also includes a new pair of lenses and web pattern that makes this one of my favorite costumes of the DLC. I understand why others may not feel the same way about this costume that I do, but personally, I'm a big fan of this design and I'm glad we have it in the game. Number 5, and a costume I almost put below Spider UK in this game, is the Scarlet Spider Kane suit, but I decided to put it above Spider UK because Insomniac made me like this costume. The Amazing Spider-Man games have nothing on Insomniac's version of this costume, and thanks to this game, I understand why others are fans of this design. The things I like most about this costume are the correct shades of red and black opposed to the Amazing Spider-Man games, and the extra detail put into the design that adds a layer of depth to the costume. Like I mentioned with the original Scarlet Spider, this game's version of the Scarlet Spider cane suit makes it look like a movie version of the design, which is why it's one of my favorites of the DLC. Moving into the final four, in another suit that appeared in the TASM games, but thanks to Insomniac's interpretation of the costume, I became a bigger fan of it, which is the classic Iron Spider at number 4. For a while, I've thought the MCU Iron Spider looked better than the comic version, but now that I've gotten the chance to use both in game, I'm having a hard time deciding which version I like more. I do have to thank the game's artists for redeeming some of the suits that were ruined by TASM's poor design, and that includes costumes not in this video such as the Ends of Earth and the Big Time Stealth costume. Number 3, and the second animated suit included in the DLC, Peter Parker suit from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, only in theaters. Although this isn't the movie suit we were asking for at the time, I ranked it this high on the list because movie suits are always great, and they're even better when they're representing a great interpretation of a character. Once again, there was a lot of effort put into this design. I prefer it over the similar vintage comic suit, but I do wish we would have seen this with the sweatpants, that way it does differentiate itself from almost 3 identical suits. But I am glad we're able to use this costume from another Spider-Man film franchise, and out of both the classic and the vintage comic suit, I'm picking this over any of those. Number 2 in the rankings of the City That Never Sleeps DLC goes to number 1 in a name sense, which is Spider Armor Mark 1. Now this wasn't a costume I was dying to have in the game, however I did predict we would see this in the Turf Wars DLC, and after playing through the DLC chapter, Insomniac delivered on the best version of this costume in any Spider-Man game. I also ranked the suit at number 2 because it hasn't been in many other Spider-Man games and never a free-roaming Spider-Man game besides Web of Shadows for the Wii, and it's about time we get a proper version of this costume because it's a classic Spider-Man design that doesn't get used often for some odd reason. And I'd say my favorite parts of this costume have to be the armored tent depending on where you're at. The black material used in certain parts of the costume is also good, and also the back spider logo. So at number 2 I placed Spider Armor Mark 1, which would be number 1 if it wasn't for a specific suit coming up next. And to no one's surprise, at number 1 we have the chosen suit, the web suit, or what many like to call the Raimi suit. I honestly don't even have to explain why this is number 1. Like I said, I originally wasn't going to include it in this video because it was added to the game via update instead of being included within the DLC packs. But the Raimi suit is undoubtedly the best costume in the game, and I honestly can't believe it's in the game. After all the fake leaks and demand for this costume, Insomniac delivered at the last second and it looks amazing. There's certain shots in the game that look straight out of the movie, and if Insomniac is able to put this amount of detail into one interpretation of this costume, just imagine how great the black variant will look assuming we get that next game. So there you have it, my rankings of the City That Never Sleeps DLC costumes from my least favorite to favorite. Remember, this is all opinion based, so instead of getting mad that my rankings aren't like yours, share your rankings down below and tell me why you feel that way. And as always, thanks for watching, be sure to subscribe, follow my social medias, and I will see you guys again in my next video.